Right? Yes. Hi, everyone. Good morning. How are we doing? Good? Yeah. Happy second week of CSW. I'm sure everyone's feeling yay. Feeling good this morning. My name is Mads. I'm with NGO CSW as the office manager. I'm also, thank you. I'm also the co-chair of the YYP program, which is the Youth Leaders and Young Professionals program. We are super excited to have you today. We're kind of hosting a dynamic event where it's a little bit of panel, a little bit of information, a little bit of networking, and some group activities. So we have a lot in store for you, so you don't have to just sit here and listen for an hour and a half. So yeah, I will go ahead and pass it to Soon Young if you.
I always have to lower this microphone. Way down. Well, welcome. We are so excited to see this intergenerational group. We also had young people at the Global Citizens Group. We had a 14-year-old from Oman, and she didn't care if she wasn't a global citizen yet. She wanted to be. So wonderful to have you here. My name is Yoon. I do explain to those who don't know me that my name in Korean means peace forever. I want to thank the co-sponsors. We have the International Alliance of Women, the NGO Committee on Social Development with us, UCLG, which is the United Cities and Local Governments, youth leaders, and young professionals of the NGO CSW in New York. You just heard from them. So what are we going to do today? Today we're going to explore how CEDAW, which you all know by now, right? Okay, who wants to explain to me CEDAW? Raise your hand. There you are. Stand up and tell us, what is CEDAW?
The conversation for women, all women.
Yeah.
Yeah, all girls.
Very good. She's calling it the Human Rights for Women. And its official name, of course, is Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And so we're going to explore this and take a look also focusing a little bit more on feminist leadership and how that helps young leaders, women of all ages attain equal decision-making at the local level and push back against the backlash on women's rights. We want to hear about your issues in the communities. And on that basis, we will have discussion groups and we'll exchange ideas on how to localize CEDAW to build resilient, resistant movements, which is what we are seeing in the cities in the US at the moment, in communities and schools that address the crises of inequality, climate change, and the culture of violence. And I am so excited to now welcome Flor Bromley, Grammy nominee, really did the red carpet with her daughter just a few weeks ago, singing from Herstory album. And she is from Peru and a wonderful advocate of children's rights. So Flor, you are welcome to come up.
Hi everybody, my name is Flor Bromley. I am Peruvian. Flor means flower in Spanish. Bromley is my last name from Peru, whether you believe it or not. I don't know about my husband's too. I am a musician, a songwriter, and I do albums and music for families, meaning that little kids can listen to it and big grown-ups can listen to it too, because music is universal. I use music in order to teach the young people different things. Empathy, real life lessons, get inspired by other people and leaders. And this is what my album is all about. The word history has the his on it. And that's not just because. It's because for the longest time, history has been focused on men. And okay, we needed strong leaders to go and fight the battles back in the olden days. But women were taking care of the kids. And women were doing so many other things. And other women stood up to that male order and were able to enhance the world. So today I'm going to talk about women from my generation, the youth, millennials. I'm almost 50. But I can still call myself the youth, I think. And this album is called Herstory because we all want to hear her story. The first song, here it comes. Herstory, herstory. I want to hear their story. Herstory, herstory. I want to hear my story. Herstory, herstory. I want to hear her story. I want to hear her story. When you think about all the people in history, what are women mentioned? Huh? It's a mystery. It's a life of women representation, but equality is the base of a foundation across time and cultures. We have been neglected. Don't you know? Someone wants to be respected and self-equality that is not easy explanation. Let's tell the stories of our generation. Her story, let's go on it. I want to hear their story, her story, her story. I want to hear my story, her story, her story. I want to hear their story. I want to hear her story. Women are not to be passive and caring. See for the beauty, not for what they're sharing. History are full stories of battles, the kings, the battles, and they want every hour. For women, well, that's not easy to obtain. So there are only a few role models that remain. These are women were not really recorded under those brave souls. Left to melt order. That's right. Her story, her story. I want to hear their story, her story, her story. I want to hear my story, her story, her story. To hear her story, I want to hear our story. We may get it done. 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 It's not even the subject of learning about women. It takes a lot of time to find the stories in it. So we should be focused on what's in front of us. Because women have the future and we should give her chance. Her story, her story. I want to hear their story, her story, her story. To hear my story, her story, her story. I want to hear our story. To hear her story. The next song, because they allow me a couple of minutes here. It's about a young girl who was here just a couple of decades ago, right there at the United Nations. She was 16 years old when she addressed a bunch of grown-ups demanding action for climate change. You know who I'm talking about. It's Greta Thunberg. And although I don't share some of her political views, she still had that bravery. And that's what I wanted kids to know. That even if you are a young little person, you can still make a difference in the world. This song is called Anger into Action. So I'm gonna embody a 16-year-old angry girl and sing this song for you, which is in alternative rock style. Here we go. In the place. Here we go. Get louder. We can save the world. Play by the rules. We need to take some action. They say maybe when you're older, you can work with that. No, we need to do this now. No more devastation. No more blah blah blah. Let's enact our conversation. We can take this anger. We can make some change. Let's enact for climate justice. I say what I say. It comes from the heart. We need to take some action. Can you join me now? Maybe we're enough to save the earth today. No more devastation, no more blah blah blah. Listen up, our conversation. We can take this anger, we can make some change. Listen up for climate justice. Listen up for climate justice. The future is being taken away from us. The future is not safe. Ecosystems are collapsing. There is no planet B. No more devastation. No more blah blah blah. Let's get at our conversation. We can take this anger. We can make some change. Let's get up for climate justice. Let's get up for climate justice. Alright, so now I'm gonna say what do we want, and you have to say climate justice. And everyone else, what do we want, and you have to say now. You got it?
Yeah.
Here we go. What do we want?
Climate justice.
What do we want?
Now.
What do we want?
Climate justice.
What do we want?
Now.
What do we want? What do we want now? No more devastation. No more blah blah blah. Let's end up our conversation. We can take this anger. We can make some change. Let's get up for climate justice. Let's get up for climate justice. Let's get up for climate justice. Thank you. Thank you, Greta, for inspiring me to write this song. And now, the last song of the album is called Trailblazing. That's a word that really has no translation in Spanish. You can translate it as two different words, but it has no one word translation. So I thought it's a really interesting word to adjust to my culture. Trailblazing, it means make your own way, be a pioneer. And I imagined when I was writing this song, a group of young girls and boys in the audience telling them, well, you've heard all these stories now. It's time for you to do your own story and to reflect. What do you want to do in the world? How are you going to make a change? This is called trailblazing. We might have been trailblazers in town, knowing their destinies theirs to design. It's up to you to remember the glory. Now it's your turn, you must create your story. Look around and you will see we can achieve more than history. Or so much more, so much more, so much more, or so much more, or so much more, or so much more, so much more, so much more, so much more. Living your truth, no story's the same. Just remember this isn't a race. We come from different places, you see. We feel diverse, standing up strong and free. And I want you to live your truth. You must believe you can achieve more than history. Oh, so much more, so much more, so much more. Oh, so much more, oh, so much more. More, so much more. Jump in the water, fly through the sky. Set every record, break down the walls. No matter what you do, it's in you to believe. Lift through the wind, go into space, make an invention, protest, protest. Let's go write new stories. Let's make history. Your story, your story, our story. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to giving time. Thank you for you reach anybody to learn things. Thank you. You are so kind. Have a round of applause for Flor Bromley.
Wow, what a treat and what a great start to this morning. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful and what a great example of art as activism. But now we'll turn to learning more about CEDAW, the dragon we are all here to train. So it is my pleasure to introduce Muthia Fadila Khairunnisa, our Studies for CEDAW Fellow at the NGO CSW New York, who will give us an overview of the core principles of this women's rights treaty, CEDAW.
Thank you very much, Jessica, for the introduction. How's everyone today? Despite this hazy, it was a bit raining earlier in the weather. Thank you so much for showing up. This is not gonna be me trying to lecture everyone because I know some of you are already experts on the matter. I just want to share what I know, and if anything, I would love to learn more from you guys as well. So yeah, I was told to share more about the key principles of CEDAW and about especially the General Recommendation 40 or the GR 40. So let's move to what is CEDAW. I think most of you, if not all of you, are already aware of what CEDAW is, but I'm just gonna run through a bit of what it is. It's a treaty. It's the full name is Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, just as Sun Young shared earlier. It is adopted in 1979 by the United Nations, and it's focusing on girls' rights, women's rights. And it covers a lot of aspects in our lives, starting from political participation, our daily life, our rights to vote, our education, employment, even like to marriage or family life. And even though the treaty is already like decades old, it provides the necessary legal baseline to hold governments accountable. So this is why CEDAW is important. We can go to the next slide. So CEDAW is implemented through the state obligations. We see here there's ratification. So when a country ratifies CEDAW, they are legally committing to respect, protect, and fulfill women's rights. And then this means they need to take legislative actions to abolish discriminatory laws and adopt new regulation that is more in favor of women or to protect women. And then we have it requires policy and programs for the implementation, and we are also looking for substantive equity, which means moving beyond like paper rights into more real world results. Thanks. And we don't just take the government's word for it. We have a system of accountability. There is the CEDAW committee, which is a body of 23 independent experts that focuses on monitoring the progress and setbacks in CEDAW. And then every 4 years, government has to submit a report on their progress. And this one, the third one, is our power, which is shadow reporting. So civil society and NGOs, we have the chance to submit our own reports to tell the community the real truth about what is actually happening on the ground. And then the committee will issue concluding observations, which are specific to-do lists for countries to fix their gaps. Okay, so let's focus on the GR or the general recommendation. So what is general recommendation? So it is actually an update that clarifies how the treaty applies to more recent conditions. As we know, since the CEDAW was adopted in 1979, it has gone through a lot of change. We as citizens are also going through change in our life conditions, so that's why we do have updates. In this case, let's say for the GR30, it focused more on like conflict prevention and management, and then we have GR37 that is more focused on gender dimensions of climate change, and DRR, disaster risk reduction. And then the recent one is the GR40, which is what we're gonna talk about. So GR40 it introduced a more radical shift. So for years, people said, "Oh, 30% of representation of women are enough," but well, GR40 says no, it's not enough because that means they justify inequality. It's not 50-50. And then we are now defining parity as a 50-50 shared power between women and men in their diversity. And it moves beyond tokenism, which means it's not enough to have a seat on the table. We must exercise equal representation, equal power, equal influence in every system, from local councils to international negotiations. Next. This is more on the 50-50 parity. So it defines as 50-50 split between women and men. And then it applies to all decision-making systems, as I just shared earlier, which means it includes from formal political processes to informal space like economic boards or even digital platforms. Next. So this shared power must reach the sectors that define our future. When I say our, it means all of us. So not only the stakeholder, the government who are currently in power, but also youth, also elderly, everyone. This is our this is what we need to protect and advocate. So in the digital economy and AI, GR40 mandates the parity and the development and auditing of AI to prevent automated gender bias. And then there's also instant reduction, which is the fact that we need more radical inclusion of girls and women in the STEM career paths. So, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And then in climate and environment, where currently women only has around like 15% of ministerial portfolios, parity is included. Parity is required in decision making, especially on land use, natural resources, and other environmental portfolios, which currently we see on the ground as mostly handled by men. And then lastly, we need equal rights to all financial and technological resources to shape the economic models of tomorrow. Next. So here it is, youth leadership. So GR40 is particularly exciting for youth because it moves beyond youth engagement into youth co-leadership. Co-leadership. It identifies us as a more of like vital stakeholders for our current and future generations. It emphasizes on intergenerational solidarity, which means our leadership is a condition for effective and sustainable governance. And then there's also intersectionality. And then the education to empowerment. It calls for our schools to integrate women's rights, ethical leadership, and digital literacy with gender lens into the school curriculum. Right, and then this is more on Cities for CEDAW. I believe Jessica will share more later, but okay, I'll share a bit. So we don't need to wait for national laws to change. The Cities for CEDAW is our action. This campaign is more about localizing the movement, which means we all citizens can take part in making that change. And we have several tools for this: gender audits, parity in appointments, and also creating safe spaces for protecting activists and ensuring rights protection for local women human rights defenders. Next. And so this is gonna be the wrap up of my presentation today, the call to action. So states are called to adopt national action plans on parity in all spheres by 2030. So we must use IEC, information, education, and communications, to design strategies that localize CEDAW. And your next step is to identify one local decision-making systems. It could be your school board, and it could be your city council or tech board, where you will demand parity today. That's all from me. I will give the floor to Jessica.
Thank you so much, Muthia. What a great overview of CEDAW and the Cities for CEDAW campaign. And I know we have some other fierce CEDAW activists in the room today, so thank you all for all the work that you do. I'll just say a little bit more about Cities for CEDAW and our History and Futures project. So now that we've covered what the CEDAW Treaty is and what its priorities are, how can we use this treaty to better the lives of women and girls in our own communities? And that's where Cities for CEDAW comes in. The Cities for CEDAW campaign, as Lucy mentioned, is a national campaign in the US to localize CEDAW. As Muthia said, the US is one of a handful of countries and the only industrialized nation in the world to not ratify CEDAW. So cities and counties and states in the US have taken it upon themselves to implement the principles of this treaty at the local level. So to date, we have over 60 cities, counties, and states that have adopted a CEDAW ordinance or a resolution. San Francisco was the first in 1998. And the campaign was officially launched right here at the NGO CSW New York in 2014. Absolutely. So Swing Young and I are co-directors of the Cities for CEDAW History and Futures project, and our project is aiming to document the history of this campaign. And through our research, we've determined that CEDAW covers 82 million people in the US, which is, let's applaud that too. incredibly impressive given that we have not ratified this treaty. So the campaign is very effective. In fact, when a couple of years ago we had the opportunity to brief the UN CEDAW committee in Geneva, and they noted that this type of grassroots local implementation of CEDAW is very effective and can be done in countries that have ratified CEDAW. And at last year's CSW, Nigeria launched the first international Cities for CEDAW campaign. And Cardiff, Wales is now the first European city for CEDAW, and the second global, Taipei, is also a CEDAW city. So exciting things happening. So now I'd like to show you an example of a successful city implementing CEDAW. We have a short video to show you.
Talk to me about the Women and Girls Initiative. What does it do for the community?
We are an initiative started by the board in 2016. We look mostly at internal policies. So at the county as an employer, a service provider, and a partner, our systems are really not designed with women or people of color in mind. And so we have to be incredibly intentional about how it is that we are spending our county dollars, how it is that we're treating the constituents that we're here to serve, as well as how we are influencing our partner agencies through our budget.
The Supreme Court today an historic upheaval. In a sweeping ruling that overturned a half a century of precedents, 5 justices ended the right of American women to choose abortion under the Constitution.
I think that in LA County, like Dr. Fultz mentioned, we knew that this was, everybody, perceived that this was going to happen. And it's really important for us to be a beacon and to really be a safe place.
Intimate partner violence, gender-based violence is a key priority during my term as chair, and our all-women board of supervisors stands united to make this remains a priority.
Sexual assault is one of the serious issues of our day, and the board recognized the need to better coordinate resources on a system-wide level and directed the Women and Girls Initiative, along with our county departmental partners and the community, to establish a framework for sexual assault council. And this multidisciplinary council will be managed by our public health department and will work to implement system level improvements, advance our systems of response in culturally sensitive ways, and strengthen our overall prevention services countywide.
The Women and Girls Initiative has been great. It's actually helped us to focus on what we needed to do in the area of gender equity. What the WGI did is it gave the department emphasis to put together a core working group, maybe. And we really used it to look at where we're at now, where we wanted to go, and what we did for offering for girls. We wanted to offer girls only sports leagues. That's something that we did in areas throughout the county, but we wanted to make sure we did that everywhere. Along with that, we wanted to offer girls special events, special clinics, to really connect them with things that girls would only do with other girls. The PART program really is about equity.
The Gender Impact Assessment Program is LA County's process for implementing the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And we do this by applying a gender lens to when the county acts as a service provider, an employer, and a partner. And today, we're proud to share that the WGI has trained all 39 county departments on how to conduct gender impact assessments and apply an intersectional gender lens to their government operations.
As a first-generation immigrant woman, I see the system and I see the downfalls in the system when it comes to women and girls. I have seen how inadequate we are in giving them services. We're a very male-oriented system. And to be able to give the tools and the ability to analyze, it speaks to me. I came into the system to change it and make it better. And I feel like now I have the tools to make it better for the women and girls.
The GI program has helped us change how we look at our recruitment efforts. It has helped bring light to the different positions that did not have any female representation in them. And it has helped us to understand that we need to look at different sources of recruitment other than we were doing before. I think what I would like to say is that inclusion matters and representation matters. So if you don't have folks that are representing the department that those candidates can relate to, you're not going to have people applying. And I can relate that to myself. When I first applied to this department, I looked at the management and I see myself reflected within that group of management. So it is important that we do have that representation so that folks are able to feel like they will belong and they will be a part of the team.
The WGI has also partnered with several community-based organizations to advance gender equity in CEDAW's priority areas, such as women's health, economic mobility, and hiring and recruiting women to traditionally male-dominated fields.
There's a lot of women and single-headed households here in LA County, so we know that if we invest in women, we pay it forward not only directly in their own families, but also in the communities they live in, and really see the services and the opportunities people can offer that help lift themselves up out of poverty.
Thank you to the Women and Girls Initiative.
We definitely want to give a thank you to WGI.
Thank you, WGI. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Los Angeles County's historic multi-million-dollar investment in the Women and Girls Initiative ensures that the progress we've made over the past 8 years will live on. The initial seed, planted by the Board of Supervisors and nurtured by the Women and Girls Initiative, has blossomed into a permanent fixture of our county government operations, protecting women and girls for generations to come. Thank you to the Board of Supervisors for this historic investment. Thank you to our GIA teams, county departments, community partners, and past and present WGI team members for your hard work and dedication in advancing gender equity throughout Los Angeles County and beyond.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, so in recognition of this innovative work for CEDAW, the NGO CSW New York awarded Los Angeles County the 2026 Cities for CEDAW Global Leadership Award just last week. And here is a message. Yes, yeah. And I'll now show you a message from County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, who was just here in New York last week and accepting the award.
When rights and protections are under threat, local government has responsibility to lead. Before I came to the county, I led the city of West Hollywood to adopt CEDAW locally when our federal government wouldn't take action. Today, in Los Angeles County, we are protecting our diverse communities and living our values of equity, safety, and care. That means ensuring women and girls, LGBTQ residents, immigrant communities, and families across our county know that their local government is here for them in action. I am deeply honored to accept the 2026 CEDAW Global Leadership Award on behalf of Los Angeles County. Thank you to NGO CSW New York and advocates around the world who continue to move this work forward. In LA County, gender equity is fundamental to how we govern. In 2022, we launched our countywide Gender Impact Assessment Program, directing all 39 departments and agencies to examine their services, policies, and workforce practices through a gender equity lens and to set clear equity goals. That work is already shaping how we serve our communities, from justice reform to public health to the services families rely on each and every day. It also guides targeted efforts where protections matter most. Through our Abortion Safe Haven project, we are protecting and expanding access to reproductive health care and connecting people to accurate information and timely support. We are expanding prevention of gender-based violence, investing in doula care to improve maternal health outcomes, and strengthening family-friendly workplace policies. This is what implementing CEDAW looks like in practice: clear goals, data-informed decisions, and accountability. It is governance grounded in fairness and results. In Los Angeles County, we believe leadership begins with listening and is demonstrated through action. And we encourage fellow leaders to join us so every community is a place where women and girls have every opportunity to thrive.
Okay, so now that we've learned a bit about CEDAW and Cities for CEDAW, let's have some smaller group discussions now. So here are some questions that can guide us in our smaller group discussions. The first being, how can feminist leadership address backlash? So you might, in your groups, want to first define what feminist leadership means to you and how that can help address some of the backlash that we're seeing. Second question is, what are your key issues for your schools, communities, and cities? So maybe that's climate change or gender-based violence or sexual and reproductive health and rights. It's probably many of those things. But if you want to identify those key issues, and then how can we use CEDAW to help address these issues? So maybe you just learned about CEDAW today. That's great. Or maybe you have a long history of CEDAW. So we're going to discuss in our groups how we might use this Women's Rights Treaty to address these key issues. So I think we'll have 20 minutes, and then we'll come back together. And if in your groups you can assign or have a volunteer share out your key ideas from the groups, like we'll have like a minute each to share that out. And can I have our facilitators come to the front? In addition to Soon Young, Baz, Muthia, and myself, who you heard from already, we also have Jillian D'Souza Nazareth from the NGO Committee on Social Development, and Jill follows from the International Alliance of Women. So we'll do two facilitators for